7 steps to finding your purpose. What's up, everybody, ladies? My name is Aisha. I want to welcome you to my channel. I am a holistic life coach and launch strategist, and I help women heal, get unstuck, and create a life and business that they love. So in today's video, we are talking about purpose, how to find it, and more importantly, how to live it. So let's jump into it. First things first, when it comes to your purpose and finding your purpose, the number one question you want to ask yourself is, what am I truly passionate about? I know we oftentimes hear people throw this word around, passion, 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 but the truth of the matter is your passion is what speaks to your heart. Your passion is what lights your soul on fire. Your passion is something that feels so good to you at the level of your DNA that it literally awakens something within you where you know it's like, this is what you're meant to do. And so oftentimes when it comes to finding your passion, you're going to get clues, you're going to get hints. It's the things that you would do all day long and not even get paid for. Your passion is something that comes naturally to you. It's something that excites you. It's something that makes you feel fulfilled regardless of how much money is attached to it. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to find your passion. You want to find things that you like. So I want you to get a sheet of paper. Get a sheet of paper, girl, because listen, when you watch my videos, we got to do the work. So grab a sheet of paper, and on that sheet of paper, I want you to write down, what are the things that you like? What are the things that you love? What are the things that you do not like, the things you hate? What are the things that make your soul cringe? I want you to take some time to think about those questions and really begin to identify the things that bring you joy and bring you an inner sense of fulfillment. The next part of finding your purpose is your proficiencies and understanding yourself. So what do I mean by proficiencies? Proficiencies are the things that you're good at. Like, you are the best at these things. Some of these things come naturally to you, and some of these things are skill sets that you've developed throughout your lifetime. So some of your experiences that you may have had. So you may have had an opportunity to work on Wall Street. You may have had an opportunity to learn how to do art. You may have proficiencies in teaching. You may be proficient in organization. So all of the things that you can think of based upon your life experiences, based upon your certifications, your degrees, your education, based upon things that you've taught yourself. A lot of times, you know, we're self-taught when it comes to certain skill sets. So think about your proficiencies, the things that you are really good at, the things that people compliment you on, and things that you've taken time to develop over the years, things that you really are skilled in. The second part of this is understanding who you are, like understanding what you like, understanding what you don't like, understanding what brings you joy, understanding what you'd rather be doing, what you'd rather not be doing. When you get to a place in your life where you're like, you know what? This really doesn't fit me. Like, even though I may make good money, I really don't enjoy this. It doesn't feel good to my spirit. It doesn't feel good to my soul. So you want to begin to just keep it real with yourself and take some time out to really assess like what the aspects of yourself that you need to just spend some time with. So we talked about passion. We talked about proficiencies and understanding yourself. The next one I want to talk about when it comes to finding your purpose is remember who you are. You know, remember the things that make you unique, the things that, you know, are so unique to you, like your own quirks, you know, and remember who you are, even when it comes to the fact that you got the essence of God in you. Like, know that you have a purpose, and remember that you're here for that purpose and you're here to serve God. And a lot of times in life, we could get sidetracked. We can sit up here and chase money or chase fads or like go off in different directions because something looks, you know, fascinating for the moment. But deep down inside, it's like there's still that void. So know who you are, know whose you are, and know what you came here to do. So we talked about a few things. The next one I want to talk about is having a game plan. So once you've identified your passions, you've identified your proficiencies, you've taken time to really assess yourself, your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your weaknesses. You know, you remember who you are. You know that you have value, you have worth, you have gifts, you have talents, you have skill sets, you have something valuable to offer. And you know that God didn't make you just for any old reason, like just for you to take up space on earth. He created you with a purpose, because he creates everything with a purpose. So you understand that. The next thing is having a game plan. When it comes to finding your purpose and living your purpose, once you've identified some of these key elements, you got to have a plan. So what is it that you're going to do on a consistent basis to get that purpose out into the world, to live that purpose? You can sit there and you can create a schedule, you can create a timeline, you can create a vision, but get a plan of action together to say, you know what, this is what I believe I'm here to do, and this is how I plan on doing this, and then start to execute on that. Next is, when it comes to finding and living your purpose, you want to have a mindset of an overcomer. Like, because on the path to pursuing your purpose, there are so many distractions. And a lot of times these distractions, these obstacles, sometimes they're internal and sometimes they're external. Some of these internal obstacles that you're going to have to overcome is self-doubt, like not believing in yourself, not trusting in your ability, not thinking you're talented enough or good enough. You're going to have to overcome even some of your traumas, some of the things that may have happened to you in your life where you really were devastated by it, and it left an imprint on your mind, on your spirit, even on your personality. You may have some other obstacles when it comes to your self-image, or, you know, just your self-belief in who you are. And so oftentimes the internal obstacles, they can stop us. They can stop us from living our purpose, from finding our purpose, and they can keep us in this mode of constantly overthinking things and not taking the action. But we're not doing that. Not now, not 2026, not 2027. Like, you have a purpose. You have whatever you need within you to fulfill that purpose. God does not make mistakes. So one of the best ways to really begin to overcome those obstacles so you can find your purpose and live your purpose is to make a decision and say, you know what? I'm going to look at everything that I go through as preparation for my purpose. I'm going to look at every heartbreak, every trauma, every letdown, every perceived failure, everything that I have gone through in my life. I'm going to look at it through a spiritual lens, and I'm going to choose to believe that these things were happening for me and not to me. These things were happening for me to develop, for me to grow, for me to elevate, for me to be refined, because diamonds are built under pressure. And so when we have that type of mindset when it comes to these obstacles that come up all the time, then that way you're going to be able to push through when you have that internal drive and that internal belief. But then we also have the obstacles that are external. So we may have obstacles when it comes to our family. They may say, you know, depending on the type of family structure you have, oh, well, why are you doing that? Like, maybe you should consider doing this instead. Or, you know, I don't really think you're good at that. I don't think you should pursue that. This is the year and the season for the women who have been called to operate in their purpose to rise up. So wherever the naysayers are, you identify them and you keep it moving. The obstacles outside of your family, if they're not supporting you, one of the best ways to overcome that is to think about, are you living your life for them, or are you living it for God? Are you living your life for their pleasure and for their validation, for their approval? Or are you living your life for the purpose and the validation and the approval and the honor of God? That right there will help you to not waste any time on what anybody got to say, period, point blank. So that can be an obstacle. Other obstacles that you can potentially face are obstacles from having a job. Like, maybe you have this, you know, you have a successful job, or maybe you are, you know, in corporate, or or some other type of profession, or maybe you just work a 9 to 5 and you just have a job, but because you spend so much time on your job, it leaves very little time for you to really hone in and focus. But the best way to overcome that obstacle is to take one step a day. Like, even if it's just 10 minutes, whatever that, step forward that you got to take, commit to taking one step a day, whether that's making a call, sending an email, drafting an outline, whether that's watching a video, whether that's getting some training or some preparation, whether that's just making a post online. Just take a step, commit to taking one action step every single day towards living your purpose. Other obstacles that you can face could be forces, spiritual forces. Like, that stuff is real. Spiritual warfare is real. So there are, forces out here that will try to distract us and deter us from living our purpose and honoring the call that God has on our life. And so the best way that we can address those things is to continue to keep God first, to continue to put on the full armor of God, to continue to make sure that we are constantly guarding the gates of our mind, that we are correcting our thinking. Anytime we get an enemy thought, we are redirecting that thought to submit it to the word of God, to submit it to the truth. We want to begin to, be in the word of God consistently, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're a Jew, whether you're just spiritual, just understanding that the truth comes from God and taking every thought to the truth, and so constantly working on that inner self-talk, that mindset, praying, fasting, staying away from toxic people and toxic foods and toxic energy, and doing your best to work on inner purification and purification of your mental, emotional, spiritual, lifestyle, your surroundings, your environment, so that you'll be less susceptible to those negative influences when they come, because they always come. So just to be prepared for that. And then the next one I want to touch on when it comes to fulfilling your purpose and finding your purpose is you as a woman. One of the biggest obstacles we face as women is our own self. A lack of self-love, a lack of self-confidence, a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-discipline, a lack of self-belief. All of these things that keep us out of alignment with the truth of who we really are can hinder us from living our purpose. But the opposite is also true. Having high self-worth, high self-belief, high self-confidence, high self-value, high self-discipline, those will begin to dismantle all of those other negative energies and negative self-images that we may have, exhibited throughout our lifetime. So learning how to love you and believe in you and trust in you, because at the end of the day, this is what I say to myself. If God believes in me, then why wouldn't I believe in me? If God created me for this purpose, then that has to mean that I'm capable of fulfilling this purpose. If God gave me this assignment, that means that I have the skill sets, the capacity, the talent, the knowledge, and the time to put this into action, because God isn't going to give us something to do and we don't have any of the resources or the tools to carry it out. So ultimately, we get to decide in life whether or not we're going to live our purpose, whether or not we're going to pursue our purpose, whether or not we're going to find our purpose. And it all comes down to making a decision. And so what I realize is that you're never going to be happy in life if you're not living your purpose, because purpose is the key ingredient to having inner fulfillment, inner soul satisfaction, inner happiness, inner joy. And when you lack purpose and you are not taking action steps to pursue it, what tends to happen is energetically, emotionally, spiritually, you become stuck and stagnant. And when you become stuck and stagnant, that then has a ripple effect in every area of your life. You start developing physical body issues. You start dealing with mental health issues, depression. You may be dealing with attracting toxic partners and like being with and around people who cannot help you elevate and are not there for your highest good. People you gotta constantly shrink around, or people who just aren't, healthy for you, people who tear you down. So we want to begin to, really live our purpose and find that purpose so that we can honor God and do what he put us here to do. And the last one I want to touch on is evolving. You may feel like right now your purpose is one thing. And as you begin to pursue that purpose on a consistent basis, it may evolve into something in a completely different direction, or it may evolve into something bigger than you could have ever imagined. But the key is to get started. I know for me personally, I spent a lot of time as a holistic life coach. I taught women from all over the world how to heal emotionally, mentally, and physically. That was my biggest, dream. I've written books, became a best-selling author, built a large audience on social media, and really spent a lot of time coaching women to help them heal and get unstuck. And then as I shifted more and grew more and life changed, and as I got older and developed more, I realized that even outside of healing, you still need to your life just can't be about healing. Your life just can't be about, letting go of heartbreak. Like, your life has to be about you honoring God and fulfilling that purpose. And I believe that a part of that purpose that we all have is to be able to be in a situation where you're doing work that you love, where you're able to monetize your experiences and your knowledge and your skill sets. You're able to turn your wounds into wisdom. You're able to help other women or other men or other children with your story. You learn how to share your story with the world. You learn how to, communicate in a way that teaches other people, that raises their vibration, that, raises their consciousness in their own mind. And all of this stuff is important. And so I now believe, that every woman should have a business. Every woman should have some other source of income outside of a job. There should be another way for you to monetize yourself and monetize your knowledge and your skill sets, and all the healing that you've done and gone through, monetize that too. And so that's now, the direction that I have pivoted into. So anyway, just to recap, we talked about in this video, finding purpose and living your purpose. And the first step in that process is identifying your passions. What do you love? What lights your soul on fire? What brings you great joy and excitement and something that you can do every single day and not get tired of it? Even if it doesn't pay you millions of dollars, but it provides you a sense of inner fulfillment and satisfaction. What is that? And then we talked about understanding who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your strengths and your weaknesses, and also understanding your proficiencies, your skill sets. What are you really good at? What are some of the things that you've honed over your lifetime? We also talked about understanding who you are as a woman, understanding your value, understanding that you have purpose, that God created you with a purpose. And so just that idea alone, even if you don't know exactly what your purpose is, but to believe and know that God doesn't make any mistakes, and that everything he creates with a purpose, which means you have a purpose. And even if you just start with that and praying for revelation, that's a start. And then we talked about having a game plan. So once you have an idea about your purpose, the things that you enjoy, things that you like, start planning. Get a game plan together on how you plan on living your purpose, how you plan on being a service to the world and sharing your gifts and your talents and your knowledge with other people. And then we talked about having an overcoming mindset, because we know that oftentimes the game is won or lost. The battle is won or lost in our thoughts, in our mind. So we want to have an overcoming mindset, a victorious victor mindset, and not a victim mindset. We want to have positive self-talk and stand guard at the doors of our mind, because we know that the enemy outside of us is always trying to get in, and even the enemy within us is always knocking. So learning how to, heal those inner wounds and those inner enemies and those inner self-talk that's in opposition to our success. So working on that. And then we talked about self coming home to you, self-worth, self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love, learning how to really love who you are, accept who you are, and validate yourself, not seeking validation from a man or from a job or from anything outside of God. We talked about that. And then the last thing is we talked about evolving. You may start off in one lane and you may switch lanes, but the key is to get started. So we've talked about 7 steps to finding your purpose. I hope you found this video valuable, and I'll drop some links below for you all just to stay connected. If you have questions or found this video valuable, I'd love for you to let me know what you think. What do you feel like your purpose is? You know, where are you on your journey to your purpose? And what obstacles do you feel like you're facing or have faced that you are constantly in a place of either overcoming or that you have overcome? I look forward to hearing from you. I hope this video was valuable. Take care and God bless.